Shalom, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Al Shai, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Al Shai, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Al Shai. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Honors to you brothers that be pushing this truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And I wanted to do this quick video dealing with self-love, okay, and overly self-esteeming oneself, which is one of the essences of this satanic lifestyle and society that Esau's pushing out there. So we start off in the precepts here within the book of Second Peter's Second Timothy third chapter on the second verse. It says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, and blasphemers, right? Unthankful and unholy." The point I wanted to go into here is you got a lot of this self-love, and if you know anything about the society, if you've been out here, what's pushed heavy here is to love what you want to do, or doing what you love, so to speak. But what you find out from the scriptures is in scriptures like Second Peter's 1, was it Second Peter's 1:6, and this is love. Second John 1:6, rather more, is this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandments as you have heard from the start, from the beginning. And scriptures like Romans, was it the 13th chapter, where it talks about how love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. And you find out love ain't got nothing to do with your emotions and what makes you feel happy, but rather the pleasing of Yahweh Shem Shai. And as a result, this society is completely against the order the Yahweh Shem Shai set up. So without much further ado, let me go into this article and I'll speak upon these different points to the best of my ability, and go to the scriptures at relevant points. So it says, satanic beliefs and birthdays, right? The idolatry of self-esteem, right? And the highest of Satan's holiday, highest of Satan's holidays, holy days and holidays. Okay, so essentially what you have, and you can see from that word holidays, it comes from holy days. That's what we had, the Passover and so on and so forth. So now what you got now is you got holidays, okay? But really, these are points of high satanic witchcraft. Matter of fact, when you look at Halloween, you got a school bank holiday that occurs at Halloween, and usually if you're at the job and you got so-called fixed holidays like myself, then those holidays usually land around those high satanic periods of time, okay? Like I said, Halloween, Christmas, Easter. And that was all with their vibration and the intent that you was going to observe, okay, these satanic rituals, these satanic days, okay, these high satanic holy days, okay, which ain't holy about it, but this is, their high holy days on the of these elite banking families that run all of these things out here within the world, that have changed days and ordinances. And when you go into the scriptures, you find out that there was the same thing, but it was mirrored onto the right hand side, in that you had high holy days where you're going to take time out, and you might have a week-long feast, rather more, okay, depending on what festival or what feast it was, okay? So these things were all mirrored onto the left-hand side, and now you got it to where you got, the calendar that we exist in, and the subsequent satanic rituals that these people observe. And they're saying through this article that the highest high holy day within this whole calendar is the is birthdays. Okay, so the celebrating of a birthday, that's not biblical. Okay, now it ain't biblical. Okay, it's a satanic thing, and that's really the highest day of this whole satanic calendar. Okay, so it says here, this is an affinity of such a commemoration among the wicked, as recorded in the Satanic Bible, the Enlightenment, and then they go into the book, all right, regarding birthdays, and this is the quote that's coming from that. So they're saying the highest of all holidays in the Satanic religion is the day of one's own birth. Okay, but what does the scripture say? The scripture says better is the end of the thing than the beginning thereof. Okay, matter of fact, Job went as far as saying, "Curse the day that I was born," because he was catching all that hell. And as long as you got it to where Esau's in power, you ain't gonna have it to where you got one day you're gonna be self-glorifying, and it's just gonna take away all of your problems, man. You're still going to be living within this man's system. He still set it up to where everything that you want to do or anything you want to get into is completely demonic, man. Okay, that is to say, he's the accuser of our brethren. Okay, and he puts it to where the vibration that's out here is totally wicked. Okay, so you go on TV and you're watching a movie, it'll be a romance. You're out there with your girl or something. You're watching a romantic movie, but the whole movie is all about adultery. Okay, when you watch James Bond and you're thinking James Bond is such a man's man, the guy is just out there committing he's a chronic adulterer, right? In our customs, in our laws, that was a person that's supposed to be put to death. Okay, and in addition to that, you got it to where you got this thing of self-glorifying, okay, which all goes back onto pride. Okay, and one of those things of events, if you will, that happens throughout the course of a year where someone self-glorifies is the day of celebrating one's birth. Okay, so if we go into the scriptures, it says there, pride goeth before destruction, and that's in the book of Proverbs, which I'm gonna pull up right here before you. So this is the book of Proverbs, the 16th chapter and the 18th verse. It says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And that's what you got out here within this society. Okay, everybody's all up into their own selves, man. Okay, everybody's all about, loving their own self and esteeming their own self more than esteeming the Most High. And I believe it said that within the scripture that we had right here, man. Okay, within the book of 2 Timothy. But if I put more than God, okay, I should be able to pull up a precept, okay, regarding how, and I think it's going to be the same precept that we had just a second ago, okay, because you got it to where a lot of people out here they're all about the pleasures of their own self, but they ain't into the Most High like that. So I think this is the scripture right here, 2 Timothy 3:4, and it says, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High. Because if you was really into the vibration, your Haba Shimei Shai, you was gonna be doing these digs, man. You was gonna go out there onto the internet and find the origins of the things that you're observing, whether it be Christmas, whether it be going out there into observing Easter, okay, Halloween, and all these other festivals that are kept within the so-called Christian circle. Okay, you be into this because you what? Because love of the Most High is to keep His commandments, man. Matter of fact, when you go into the book of Proverbs, the first chapter, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of understanding. Okay, and when the Most High has it to where you understand His ordinances, when you fear Him, okay, you begin to learn and you begin to grow within the understanding of this truth. Okay, and one of those things you have to learn is that this thing of birthdays is satanic. Okay, so it says here, this is a direct contradiction to the Holy of Holies of other religion. Okay, which chiefly a particular God who has been created in an anthropological form of their own image, thereby showing the ego is not really buried. Okay, the Satan is Phil. Why not really be honest? And if you are going to create a God in your own image, so basically what they're trying to say here, and we know through the scriptures that we was created in the image of the Most High. Okay, so this thing of us creating a God that looks like us, so we worship that God. That's not what the scripture says. Okay, but they're trying to twist it and bend it so it fits their own beliefs, and they continue to say the Satanist feels. Okay, why not really be honest with yourself to create a God in your own image? Why not create that God as yourself? And then when you check out history, okay, when you check out these different individuals that had been in positions of power, you had it to where they was all up into themselves, man. I believe Antiochus Epiphanes, I think that actually literally means that he had it to where basically he was saying that he was God. And then they called him Epimanes, which meant the mad one. Okay, but the point I was trying to make is when you look through the course of history, all right, and you had it to where certain individuals was gone out there into the battles and they fought certain battles and they either won or lost or whatever the situation was. Okay, when they came back, after the course of time and time again, and they had availed in those battles, they was deified amongst their own people to the point that they believed that they was gods. Okay, and that was heavy within the Babylonians. That was heavy amidst them. That was heavy between them. Amidst them Egyptians, it was real heavy amongst them. Okay. Matter of fact, I believe a lot of those rulers that you had out there in Egypt, okay, believed that either they was a god or they were descendants of gods, and that was known within the history. Okay. So this whole notion of celebrating oneself on a birthday or something like that, that all goes back onto Egypt, that all goes back onto Babylon, and all of these other philosophies and ideas, okay, wherewith the Most High told his people to abstain from. Okay. So if you're coming into this truth, this is something you're supposed to be straying away from, man. Okay, you're supposed to be observing and celebrating the festivals the Lord gave us. Okay, and one big festival that's going to be added to the calendar is the destruction of this place. Okay, that's going to be a major feast and a festival wherein you're going to remember, okay, how that you dwelt in Egypt, okay, modern day Egypt, okay, in the modern day Babylon, and how the Most High delivered you from this adversity right underneath Esau, okay, and how much hell we was catching out here, okay, and we're going to celebrate real hard and real good in that day, man. Okay, but until that time comes, okay, we got these other festivals that the Lord had set us up. Like the Passover was not so much a celebration than a solemn week, okay, but Purim, okay, what's this guy? When I Edomite got I forget the name of him, but we celebrated the day when that Edomite got destroyed, and that's written about within the Maccabees. I think it was John something, if I'm not mistaken. Right, all of these things that the Most High set forth to enjoy, but Jacob would rather celebrate themselves because that's more in line with the vibration that Esau pushes forth. Okay, and as we know from the scriptures, as the ruler is, so the people are going to be too. Okay, so it says here, so every man is a god in his if he chooses to recognize himself as one. So the Satanist celebrates his own birthday as the most important holy day of the year. Okay, and after all, aren't you happier about the fact that you were born? Then aren't you happier about the fact that you were born than you are about the birth of someone you never met? And that goes into faith, because this whole notion of celebrating oneself and tangible gods and idols and this, that, and the third, okay, because you can see the sun or the moon, okay, you can see a calf that you built and prayed to it, all right, and that's what you find out about a lot of these individuals that go into these other philosophies. They want something tangible. Matter of fact, when you go into this whole thing of Christianity, that's more tangible than this thing of the truth is, because you got Cesar Borgia, you got it to where you got Esau. He will come out with some historical book, okay, right, which is really just lies, and have it to where you actually believe that what he's saying is the truth, okay. So you got it to where it's more tangible, so people through a lack of faith vibe into that, okay. And if you go into Christianity, it ain't nothing but self-love, man, because this Christianity thing, they're about birthdays, Christmas, okay, Halloween, all of that. They're all about that, man. Okay, so if you're going into this thing or just coming into this truth, you're supposed to be, leaving, moving away from that. Okay, you're supposed to be moving away from those philosophies. Okay, so continuing on and to finish off, okay, it says, so it says here, after all, aren't you happier about the fact that you were born and than you are about the birth of someone you never met? So that's a complete lack of faith. And you check out Esau's sentiment and his spirit. His whole thing is about a complete lack of faith. That's why he goes into the sciences and this, that, and the third. When ultimately, okay, you have a thing, pretty much of faith within this truth. Okay, so it says, or for that matter, aside from the religious holidays, why pay a higher tribute to the birthday of a president, or the date in history to the day we were brought into this greatest of worlds, despite the fact that some of us weren't been planned, or at least not particularly planned, or we are glad even if no one else is that we are here. Okay, right? You should give yourself a pat on the back, buy yourself whatever you want, treat yourself like a king, which goes into a licentious, I believe the word is licentiousness, self-indulgence, okay, and that you are, and generally celebrate your birthday with a much pomp and ceremony as possible, and that's what you see throughout this throughout this whole throughout this whole what do you call it, throughout this whole world. Okay, now if we pull out a few quotes from here, you see this point supported. So it says the early Christians, which were Israelites, okay, the true early Christians were Israelites, did not celebrate his Yahushua's birth, because they considered the celebration of anyone's birth to be a pagan custom. So even if you're just saying, okay, I don't celebrate my birthday, which is unlikely, because if you're about Christmas, most likely you're about your birthday, man. Okay, because that celebration of birth is a pagan customs. Okay, let's go up to the quote above, and it says from the World Book Encyclopedia. It says, not surprisingly, then the ancient Jews did not celebrate birthdays, regarding them as pagan. Okay, right. Christmas is also relevant because December 25th was the celebration of the birth of the sun god Mithra. Okay, and the whole thing with the Christmas thing, that was really a day, okay, when all of these heathens would celebrate. Now they call it different names in different cultures, okay, but the same thing is still prevalent in all these different cultures, in that it was a pagan custom. Okay, so it says so pretty much, I mean, that's all I really wanted to get, and to show you that, that's that custom, it ain't part of our culture. Okay, and really, if you want to get down with this truth and you want to stay relevant, you got to put that custom away, because it's demonic. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna say, all praises unto Yahweh Shem Yahshai, double honesty, apostles of great millstone, honest brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.